Hey everybody, David here, and today I want to talk about some news that dropped. Some weird news that no one was probably expecting. Apparently, the creator of the Despicable Me movies is going to be doing a Shrek and Puss in Boots reboot. Okay, that's interesting. The reason why I think this is weird, first of all, is because you never hear about animated movies getting reboots. Or at least that's what I thought at first. Until very recently, I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. Disney has been doing reboots of their animated films as well. So what could get me on board with this is if this is something completely different from the animated films, and that maybe these are going to be live action adaptions of Shrek. I don't know. Other than that, how do you reboot an animated movie, especially an animated movie as beloved as Shrek? The Shrek franchise, whatever you think of those third and fourth Shrek movies, and even Puss in Boots, they're beloved. Those characters are beloved and hold near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. I love those first two Shrek movies, especially the second Shrek movie. I don't know how many people are on board with me when talking about the Shrek movies. Shrek 2 is a masterpiece, in my opinion. That's one of the all-time greats when it comes to DreamWorks animation. And the idea of rebooting Shrek just seems weird. And I think the article was also saying that they're thinking of possibly bringing back the cast of the original animated films. So then what would be the point of rebooting if you're not even going to be rebooting the proper way? When you bring back the cast of that original film, those films, then you're not rebooting, you're just doing a sequel. So I'm not quite sure I understand what they mean by reboot, because reboot means you're shaking things up entirely. It's not going to be the same like it was before. So it's not necessarily a remake. I would rather have a live action remake than a reboot. Because say what you want about Beauty and the Beast. A lot of people I know some people really liked it like I did. But agreed that it wasn't really necessary because you just copied the original animated film. Which is what didn't work for a lot of people, but a lot of people really did like that nostalgia factor. That's why the movie hit $1 billion worldwide. That's why Aladdin is going to do the same thing. That's why The Lion King is going to do the same thing. That's why Dumbo is going to do the same thing. Disney has cracked the code at making their live action remakes. I could see Shrek doing the same thing. Maybe updating some things here and there that maybe they couldn't do in animation, or that would be more interesting to look at in live action. They could do course corrections, like, okay, we know what we screwed up on Shrek 3 and 4. That's what we have to not do now. Puss in Boots, I remember the Puss in Boots movie. One movie came out, I would have been interested in still seeing a second film. And there was a sequel planned, but I guess that was scrapped sometime down the line. And they didn't go forward with that. I loved Antonio Banderas as the voice of Puss in Boots. I thought he was terrific in that role. Obviously, Eddie Murphy is the voice of Donkey, and Mike Myers and Cameron Diaz is the voice of Shrek and Fiona. I mean, that was some great casting in those films. So if you do reboot it, and let's say they can't get the original cast back, why would you do it with an all-new cast? It's just going to be weird. Or are they going to do imitations of the original cast? I mean, there's so many questions that are right now unanswered. That was the great thing about animated movies, is that you could do sequels galore, or even television shows galore, and you wouldn't have to worry about the actors aging, because the characters are always looking the same. Maybe they don't want to take it with the kids, because Shrek and Fiona, last we saw them, had kids now. They were having a family. Maybe they want to start all over and get Shrek single and ready to mingle. I don't know. I just think rebooting an animated classic I mean, that makes me worried now, because if it's successful, that means other studios might want to say, hey, you know what? Why don't we go back in the beginning and reboot the Toy Story franchises? I don't think Pixar would go there, or Disney, but other animated, franchises. Let's reboot The Land Before Time, even though I wouldn't mind seeing a reboot of that. Let's reboot, I don't know, Fievel's Goes West or something. They'll be going back to those animated classics that my generation grew up on, or even 90s films, and say, hey, let's reboot this animated film. That's something that worries me a little bit, because I don't want animated films to get into that area. I don't mind sequels for animated movies. I don't want to see them get rebooted, because I think that's the fun thing about animation, is that animation right now is the thing that's making the most original content when it comes to big blockbusters. Animated films are right up there in the blockbuster extravaganza. Obviously, it's usually Disney and Pixar. DreamWorks gets some up there too. So does the Despicable Me studio. I forgot what studio they're called right now. And Fox, I think. Anyways, I don't want to get into that. Yeah, so there are some studios that do a good job at doing their own animation. But if they get this idea that, hey, let's reboot some of our stuff that aren't working anymore. Like Ice Age. Whatever happened to Ice Age? The first Ice Age was a really nice movie, and then they kept making sequels. It was like Land Before Time all over again. I can just imagine right away. I think that was Fox. Fox did Ice Age. Can you imagine if they got the idea, hey, let's reboot the Ice Age franchise. What are we going to do differently? We'll put the squirrel in a little bit more. I don't know. It's just something to be concerned about, because Hollywood, they think there's these trends and they think that it will work with anything, but sometimes it doesn't always work that way. There's some studio heads that obviously are aware of that okay, it's working for that company, but maybe we shouldn't pursue that because it won't work for everything. But that Hollywood works in trends, so I don't know how well, maybe we'll just have to wait and see what they mean by reboot. Maybe what they mean by reboot is that maybe the kids are all grown up now and it's going to center on one of Shrek's kids. So Shrek Jr. or something. I don't know. Let's wait and see. Maybe they'll prove me wrong and it will be great. So let's see. But yeah, the live action Shrek, that would intrigue me a little bit more than an animated reboot. So we'll see. With that being said, guys, I want you to comment below and tell me what you think. Are you excited about a reboot of Shrek and Puss in Boots, or do you think they should leave them alone and just do sequels if they want to do more? There's nothing wrong with sequels. You guys do a lot of them already anyways. So with that being said, I hope you guys like this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, take care.